Okay, are we live?
Yep.
Okay. All right, this is the Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School District, April 27, 2021 school committee meeting. And pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School District will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting link. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately assess the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Shawsheen website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right, well, I would like to give a warm welcome to our newest members. Cheryl Bartoloni from Tewksbury, Charles Fiore from Wellington, Christina Kim from Billerica. I'm sorry, Burlington, right?
Yes.
Burlington, yeah.
Burlington, and Ryan O'Donnell from Bedford. Of course, this is his second meeting. We saw him at our last meeting. And we have our student reps, Mr. Khalifi and Ms. Fusco here with us. We have Robert Peterson, Kent Moffitt, Ron Fusco, Taryn Gillis, Nancy Asbedian, myself, Patricia Muse, and Brad Jackson, the superintendent. Our first order of business is school choice, and this is a public hearing. And I believe the
Make a motion, we open the public hearing for school choice.
Second.
okay. I have a second. Okay, I got a second. All right, because we have to do all these votes. Personally, Cheryl, how do you vote? You gotta unmute yourself.
Every vote has to.
I'm going to, I'm not familiar with the topic. So,
All right, well, we're just opening, this is
Public
just
hearing on
to
school choice.
open the public hearing to talk about it, and we'll tell you what it's about, okay?
all right, then, yes.
All right, so I just need a yes or a no vote.
Yes.
Okay. Taryn,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes,
Bob,
Yes.
Brian, Christine,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So the public hearing is open. We do have numbers that people can call if they talk. So if you read the memo about,
We're putting up the comment, the directions on how to
okay, school
participate in
choice.
the
All
public
right,
comments right now.
all right. So I'll just, if you read school choice, the memo that the superintendent put out, it's under Education Reform Act. All schools have to vote on whether they'll allow school choice into their buildings. But because we always have a waiting list, we don't offer school choice. So this is for the school committee to vote yes if they want school choice or no if they don't. And the recommendation is that we vote no. And the reasons are choice would eliminate occupational technical preferences for district students. Enrollment projections for the 21-22 school year indicate a full complement of students will be enrolling from the district. And maximum payment under school choice is less than the district towns pay to send a student to Shawsheen Tech. So does any committee members have any questions about this? Okay, and hearing no one in the public, I would like a vote. I would like a recommendation.
motion to close the public hearing, Chairman?
Second.
No, oh,
Don't we have to vote? You have to
Do we
vote
vote?
first.
I would say We want to vote first.
Move
vote
I
first.
move the vote.
And, can you, and that is you vote not to be a receiving district for the 21-22 school year for the reasons written down in the memo.
Yes.
That's
true.
how your
Yes.
motion has to go. All
Yes.
right, can I have a second?
Second, Madam Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell. Do you have your, are you muted, Mr. O'Donnell? Miss Kim? Mr. Moffett? Mr. Fiore?
Yes.
And can you take down the phone numbers so I can see everybody again?
That was yes. Sorry.
Yes, all right. And who did I miss? I missed a bunch of people. I can't get my view back. Oh, I did you, Mr. Moffett. The chair votes yes. Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Miss Bedian, Miss Gillis,
Yes.
and Miss Bartoloni.
Yes.
Miss Bartoloni,
Yes.
okay, and the chair votes yes. It's unanimous vote not to be a receiving district. Okay, I think we have a motion from Ron Fusco.
Chairman Muse, I'd like to take an item out of order. If you so,
We need to close the public hearing first.
did it close the public? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. We're gonna
I'm
close
sorry.
the public hearing.
I'll make a motion. We close the
That's
public.
okay, that was my fault.
Sorry, Pat. We're good.
In a second?
Second.
No, that was my fault.
All right.
All right. Miss Gillis,
Yes.
Miss Bartoloni,
Yes.
Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Miss Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Miss Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Moffett,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore, Mr. Fiore.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, unanimous vote. The hearing is closed. Okay, and now,
Chairman Muse,
Mr.
I would
Fusco, do you have a
I would
motion?
like to make a motion. We take an item out of order, and that would be the reorganization of the school committee.
Second.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. Miss Bartoloni,
Yes.
Miss Gillis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Miss Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Moffett,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore.
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you now. All right, did you vote yes?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, unanimous vote, so it's moved up and superintendent will take over the meeting.
So as I understand it, it's been
Mr. Jackson?
tradition, can everybody hear me? As I understand it, it's been tradition for the superintendent to
Yep.
chair the portion of the meeting regarding reorganization. I want to read the school committee policy on reorganization so everybody understands the process. For the purpose of organizing the school committee at its first regular meeting following the district's annual elections, will elect from its membership a chairperson, a vice chairperson, all of whom will hold their respective offices for a term of 1 year or until a successor is elected. The committee shall also appoint a treasurer and a secretary who may be the same person, but who need not be members of the committee. A majority of the members of the school committee will constitute a quorum. The election will proceed as follows. 1, nominations for the office of chairperson will be made from the floor. The chairperson will be elected by a majority roll call vote of the members present and voting. If no nominee receives a majority vote, and given the fact that there are 10 members of this committee, a majority vote is 6 votes. The election will be declared null and void, and nominations will be reopened. Upon election, the new chairperson will preside, calling for the election of a vice chairperson and the appointment of a treasurer and secretary in that order. The procedure used for their election will be the same as that for electing a chairperson. So with that, I will open the floor for nomination
Superintendent Jackson,
of chair. Mr.
Superintendent Jackson, I'd like to nominate Pat Muse for chair.
Second,
And that was seconded by Ms. Gillis.
Well, I did too. Either way.
Are there any,
Superintendent Jackson,
are
I'd like
there
to
any
make,
other nominations?
Superintendent Jackson, I'd like to make the nomination for Bob Peterson as chair.
Mr. Moffett, is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Kim seconds that motion. So we have we have nominations made and seconded for Ms. Muse, Attorney Muse and Attorney Peterson. Are there any other members who wish to be recognized for the purposes of making a nomination? There being none, is it tradition for the committee to conduct discussion at this point or go directly to a vote?
We usually go right to a roll call vote.
Go to the vote. Yeah, right to a vote.
Okay.
I just have to make a comment. I remember the first time my first meeting was an election and I had no clue. And I'm just wondering if the new members
Yeah.
have a clue. And if there's anything we can say that would help their decision-making process.
I know it's a tough thing to jump into. Yeah,
It's
I agree.
hard when you,
I agree.
I mean, possibly they might have been following meetings. I did
Yep.
not. I
agree.
have to say I was ignorant. But if you know members and you're familiar with the candidates, fine. If you don't, I don't know, Brad, if it's appropriate to make comments or what, I don't know how this is done. I've been thrown into it before.
Well, at this point in time, if I will allow either candidate for the position of chair, if they'd like to make a statement, I'll yield the floor to them in the order that they were nominated. Attorney Muse, do you have a statement you'd like to make for the committee prior to their vote?
I didn't prepare anything because we never usually talk, but I would say that, I have been chair for the last, actually not in a year, since last June. And I think I've done a pretty good job since this was a tough year. I keep in touch with the superintendent once a week. We speak with each other. I answer all of the committee members' questions. I'm in touch with everybody. Anybody can get a hold of me. I have perfect attendance. I've had pretty perfect attendance for the 26 years I've been in here. I make all my subcommittee meetings, and I think I've done well helping out the new members that we have had, and I will continue to help out all the new members. Any questions you have, you can ask me, whether I'm chair or not. I bring a lot of experience, and I do know that we are going to be hiring a new superintendent, and I have hired a new superintendent for Tewksbury School Committee while I was on the school committee, and we have hired one here since I've been on, so I have that experience as well. And my husband's giving me little things to say, but I think I've done well on this pandemic or whatever. And, and I tell it like it is. And I truly don't think I'm a politician. I'm here for the kids.
Thank you, Ms. Muse. Attorney Peterson.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. I, like Ms. Muse, was not prepared to speak. We've never done this before, but having said that, I welcome the opportunity to speak. I have been a member of this committee as long as Mrs. Muse has. I think we've been here 26 years. My attendance is also almost perfect. I think I may have missed a graduation in 26 years. I think I bring a lot to this committee. I'm very open, and I'm open to any member of this committee. I concur with Mrs. Muse that we have a very, very important year in the development, in the continued development of this school coming up in 2021, 2022. And I feel I have the experience to lead all 10 of these members through whatever the next 12 months will bring us. And whatever the result of the votes this evening is, I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move to the vote. I'm
Can
going
I
to,
ask for clarification?
Attorney O'Donnell, yes.
Yeah, Brian, please. Since both candidates mentioned a possible connection to a superintendent search, could each of them speak very, very briefly to what they would see as their role or non-role in that process, chairing, involvement, or whatever it might be, since they both mentioned it?
I would, if I may, Dr. Jackson,
Peterson,
I think my role as the chairman in the superintendent search would be dictated by my fellow committee members. This would be a collaborative decision. In the last superintendent search, I happened to be the chairman of the school committee. I was not the chairman of the search committee, and my participation in that process was extremely limited. And I would expect, Brian, that would, obviously the final decision on that is up to the entire committee. But I would suspect that the person who heads up the search committee for the superintendent would not be your committee chairperson.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. The chair would not be the chair of the search committee. I think the chair helps develop with the committee how we go about this. Do we go through an outside source? Do we just do it ourselves? And it has to be, you know, all of us have to have pretty much an agreement. And then we decide what type of people come in to help us. We want parents, we want students, we want teachers. You know, in the last committee that I served on, which I was the chair of that committee, but I was not chair of the school committee at the time. I was asked by the then standing chair of the committee to stand in as the chair. And it was an interesting mix of people, but unfortunately the majority were teachers, and I don't think it was the right mix. I think we need a pretty equal mix of teachers, students, and some school committee members will also be on that committee, you know, and parents or people in the community, you know, and that's what we were missing the last time. I think we only had two truly community members on it. I have been on, you know, I mean, I wasn't sure what you first meant, because when I was on the Tewksbury School Committee, I believe I was chair, and we voted in a superintendent who sat for over 20 years in that position. So, I mean, I have the experience of it. I've seen both. I've seen the committee do the whole search, and I have seen MASC help with it. And that's something we need to discuss, and it'll be a committee decision.
Thank you. Appreciate your answers.
any other member of the committee wish to be recognized? Ms. Kim?
I'm just wondering, being that there's 40% of us are brand new, if this vote can take place at the next meeting so we can gather more information. Is that something that's possible? Thank you.
Well, the item is on the agenda as per your policy. At any point in time, in any conversation, in any discussion, A motion to table the issue can be entertained and voted, does supersede the vote and can take place to table, and to table it to the next
I mean,
meeting.
I think any member of the committee, especially the newer members, it's really up to the prerogative of the committee, but any member could move to table the vote to the next meeting. It would be it's a non-debatable issue, so.
That's correct.
Could I ask Ms. Kim if there's anything we can help in that decision for you now to avoid deferring the vote? What kinds of information do you need to know?
Who was the chair of the search at the last school committee, superintendent search?
I was the chair of the search committee. I did
was
not
the
pick the
chairman.
search committee.
I was the chairman of the committee and Mrs. Muse was the chairman of the superintendent search.
Right.
The search, I'm sorry, that's what I was talking about. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to ask, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Patty and Bob, what are your goals for the next year? For the direction of our school committee? Is that too broad a question?
I don't mind answering it.
Mr.
Would
Peterson.
you like to go first or you want me to go?
No, Mr. Peterson, go ahead.
My goal, if I was to be elected to the chairman for the next 12 months, would really be to foster harmony and cohesiveness amongst my fellow committee members. And should we embark on a search, although as the chairman of the committee, I would not be the chairman of the search committee. I would make sure that there was an orderly connection between the school committee and the search committee. I think we did have that last time. I would agree with Mrs. Muse that the search process last time involved probably too many individuals, and it didn't go as well as it should have. And I think Mr. O'Donnell alluded to that at the last meeting. I think that we have many issues to face this year, very important issues. And I feel that my experience as a 26-year member of this committee and a 9-year member of the Wilmington School Committee before that would assist me in carrying us forward over the next 12 months. I've participated in, this will be my 5th superintendent search, if that's the way we go. And I just feel like I'm in a unique position to assist every member of the board, and especially the new members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Ms. Muse, Ms. Kim's question was about goals for the coming year.
Goals. Right. Well, obviously, the biggest one is what are we going to do about a superintendent? And however we answer that this year, that because I have also participated in several search committees and I also served 6 years on the Tewksbury School Committee. So Bob and my experience are quite similar. I think I get along pretty well with most of this committee. I think I get along with all of this committee. I keep in touch with everybody. I make sure that, and that's what I would continue to do. If something happens at a meeting and I notice that someone's not happy with it, I reach out to them and, can we help you? Can I help you understand it better? I've made sure I reached out to all of the newly elected members to say, as chair right now, I'm available for any of your questions. My biggest thing is just to get, whether we do well on MCAS this year or not, because I think that's going to be an issue for most schools. But it's really the students. I want the students to succeed. I have, and I have a personal reason as well. I have 2 grandchildren that graduated from this school. I have 2 grandchildren sitting in the school right now. And I've always, even when I was on Tewksbury, I fight for the kids and I'll fight along with you, and that's really the whole thing. We fight as a team. We want the kids to succeed, and that's what they will succeed.
Any other questions from the committee? Thanks, Ms. Muse.
I just have one if I could. If we're gonna be voting.
Fiore,
Yeah, if we're gonna be voting today, I have one. I know, like I said, my predecessor, Mr. Gillis, talked about school expansion, like maybe building a new wing or something. So I guess I'd be curious to know how both the candidates feel. Do they feel we should wait longer, or do we should jump into that and do a search to get funds right away as far as getting a new building? And since, like I said, we can wait if we were gonna table, but if we're gonna vote today, that would be something, maybe they both have the same view.
I'll speak to that right now. We've got an issue if we vote right now. We've got a huge bond that we're still paying on. We still got, I think, like 10 years left. All of our sending schools, except for maybe Bedford, have had big buildings. I mean, we have new high schools, new high school in Wilmington, new high school in Tewksbury, new high school in Billerica. It's a hard sell to do it within the next year or so, but we need to do it. We know we need to do it. And maybe it's going to be not a full school. Maybe it's going to be an addition or an improvement to our school. But I would say I am not for doing one this year. Perhaps the next time the MSBA comes out and says you have up until, a certain date, then we'll do it the next time. But it's too early to do it now. Our towns are all in debt right now.
Mr. Peterson.
I would actually agree with Mrs. Muse on the timing of an addition, not addition or a reconstruction of the building. Having said that, it is something as a committee that the entire committee and various subcommittees have talked about for the past 5 years. If you drive by the building, you would say that the building is in good shape. It's not in as good a shape as you think it is. Mr. Lyons did an outstanding job with capital projects to keep the building in good shape with windows, doors, air conditioning units. So if you drive by the building, you would think that you would never know that it was opened in 1967. But inside the building, if you look around, we're deficient in many areas, many technology areas. And I would suspect that at some point in time, a new building project would be in the offing. I just don't think this year or maybe even the next year would be a good time for that. School districts are hurting, we're hurting, and I just don't think that that would be a viable project in the next 2 to 3 years. And I don't think that the sending towns would support it.
Any further questions, or is there a motion from the committee?
Dr. Jackson, I just wanted to ask if you could just share with the new members. This is my first time serving in a committee like this. If you could just kind of bullet point the roles and responsibilities of the chair, just so I have a better understanding of what their responsibilities are.
As I understand it, Ms. Bartolone, the chair conducts these meetings much like I am now. They meet regularly with the superintendent to discuss the agendas for the future meetings, to ensure that there's an orderly process for that. They do a lot of organization for subcommittees and ensure that the subcommittees are both staffed and working in an orderly way, and basically just works with the superintendent to kind of keep the committee functioning efficiently and effectively. Mr. Peterson and Ms. Muse, do you have anything to add to that, or that you disagree with?
I think that pretty much covers it.
And the agenda pretty much is, when we put things on the agenda, it's actually what usually school committee members have mentioned they want on the next meeting, or have mentioned it in a subcommittee meeting or whatever, and they have mentioned something, and that, so I try to make sure I remember everything, and I'm just remember that what their members want are looking for at a next meeting. So it's really decided by the school committee members what's put on the next meeting.
And the chair has historically been the connection between the committee and the superintendent.
Right.
Correct. Any other questions for the two nominees?
Dr. Jackson, could I ask a question?
Mr. Moffat?
Just because from my start to this year, there's been a change in the subcommittees. Could the people speak to like what their plan is, just high level, like for the subcommittees for this coming year? I mean, you're gonna have your standard ones, like, the budget, probably like a facilities committee to kind of oversee like the, MSBA stuff, but like, what are the other subcommittees? Because there was a change from probably historically the way stuff were done to this year past. Like, what could they just give a high level what their
Yeah,
plan is? For the committees?
I will say I did change a lot of the subcommittees because a lot of the subcommittees weren't even meeting. But the main one that I changed was the personnel subcommittee. I thought it wasn't transparent enough. A lot of us weren't sure what was going on all the time, and they'd just come to a meeting and give us a vote, and we'd vote. And I decided, let's try it a different way. Let's try that we bring everything to the full committee, and let people decide, So that's basically the biggest change was the personnel subcommittee.
And I would concur that most of the committees would stay, the number of committees and the number of committee members would stay as presently constituted.
Any other questions? Are there any, Ms. Kim?
Sorry. What does the personnel committee do exactly?
Exists.
Thank you.
Personnel committee.
Well, right now it doesn't do anything.
I'm sorry, Patty, go ahead. Go ahead, Patty.
Ms.
I
Muse?
just want to say right now we don't have one. But it basically dealt with all personnel issues. All the grievances went to them first. All of the union stuff went to the personnel committee. Different things like when one of our superintendents was voted for, actually it was the personnel subcommittee that ran that. So they did a lot, but I thought, there was several members who had concerns, and we decided so I decided to get rid of that committee and let all of this information go out to all of the committee during executive sessions. So, and Bob, you can say it.
Could I just make a comment?
No, Ms. Aspinian, hold on just a minute. I'm going to give Mr. Peterson the chance to
I'm sorry.
respond as well. Then I'll
No,
get to you.
no apology necessary. I would just like to follow up on Mrs. Muse's comment as to the personnel subcommittee. She correctly pointed out that the personnel subcommittee for years was a very valuable subcommittee on this committee. And they did all of the negotiations for the contracts. And it was relatively easy this year to not have a full-time personnel subcommittee. But going forward, negotiating contracts, the larger contracts in the building, especially the STA contract, in my opinion, would require a dedicated personnel subcommittee. There's months and months of subcommittee meetings that go into negotiating larger contracts like the STA contract. And I think it would be virtually impossible to negotiate a contract of that magnitude with 10 members. So there is some merit in not having a full-time personnel subcommittee, but I think there is some merit with the larger contracts of having a designated subcommittee for the negotiation of those particular contracts. And that's something that you folks are going to have to deal with perhaps later this year, perhaps next year. But when the larger contracts come up, you're going to need a dedicated subcommittee. When we were building the football field, the baseball field, the soccer field, with the state money that Mr. Lyons was able to procure for us, we had a full-time facilities committee, and the most valuable member on that committee. He spent hundreds and hundreds of hours working on the facilities, was Paul Geddick. Paul Geddick brought an invaluable asset to that committee. And in instances like that, I would believe as the chairman, that a dedicated group of committee members, smaller than 10, would be very beneficial to carry out the work of those particular committees for a particular job.
And I will just mention that excuse me, Bob, that I did have members who volunteered to negotiate whenever there was any negotiations. And that's how I see it working. That members would volunteer to negotiate with the teachers and they'd spend that time. They'd know how much time they'd have to spend and they'd spend that time negotiating with teachers. That's how I did it this year. We had a couple of negotiations with different unions, and that's how I see this working. I did look at other schools and how they do it. A lot of them do not have a personnel full-time subcommittee. They just have negotiating teams.
Ms.
And I'm sorry.
Asbeean,
And
I'm sorry, Pat, were you done? I apologize.
yes, I am.
All right.
That's all right.
Nancy, I interrupted you. Did you
No,
have
no,
something,
I'm
a
sorry.
question or something
I
you wanted to
just
say?
wanted to, for the newer members, the only personnel that the school committee is directly responsible for is superintendent, finance, and special ed, if I'm right. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so as far as individual positions, that's all the only personnel we are directly involved with.
But I think that goes to hiring and setting salary.
Hiring and firing.
Right, that's the only, I just wanted to make that distinction for new members, that's all.
But we are responsible for everybody else in the building for contract negotiations.
Contracts are different, you're right.
Correct. At the end of the day, as a committee, that's our purview and our responsibility.
No,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you. Any other questions from the folks who have not?
Can I make a comment, Dr. Jackson?
You sure can.
Well, I just, from this past year being a new member, like for example, the restructure of like special ed and guidance and all that, I felt like that should have been, I don't know if that would have been the personnel subcommittee, but like that could have been something that would have been discussed in advance at a subcommittee. That's an example. So I felt like, basically that could have been, that piece there could have been discussed at that level before that hit the regular school committee. So I don't know if that would be the personnel subcommittee, but it sounds like it would be, but just a observation.
Any more comments from the members prior to me calling a roll call vote for election of the chair? There being none, I'm going to call the roll by alphabetically by last name. When I call your name, please state whether you vote for Ms. Muse or Mr. Peterson. Ms. Asbeean.
I'm Miss Muse.
Ms. Bartolone.
With all due respect to both candidates, Bob Peterson.
Mr. Fiore.
Bob Peterson.
Mr. Fusco.
Pat Muse.
Ms. Gillis.
Pat Muse.
Ms. Kim.
Bob Peterson.
Ms. Muse.
Ms. Muse.
Mr. Moffett.
Mr. Peterson.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Miss Muse, two great candidates.
Mr. Peterson.
Mr. Peterson.
It's a tie.
It's a tie.
I have 5 votes in favor of Ms. Muse and 5 votes in favor of Mr. Peterson.
That's because we have two great candidates.
If no nominee receives a majority vote, the election will be declared null and void and nominations will be reopened.
All right, folks, we want,
Is there a nomination?
it's gonna be a long night.
I move that we table the vote until next month because I don't think that we are going to get past the tie today.
The motion to table is not debatable. There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
I
Second,
second.
Who made that second, please?
I did.
Mr.
Oh.
Peterson. So there's a motion by Ms. Gillis, seconded by Mr. Peterson to table the matter of committee reorganization to the May meeting. That motion is not debatable. On the motion to table, Ms. Asbedian, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Bartolone,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Ms. Gillis,
Yes.
Ms. Kim,
Yes.
Ms. Muse,
No.
Mr. Moffett,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
9 in favor, 1 opposed. The reorganization is tabled to the next meeting. With that, I return the chair to Ms. Muse. As your policy states, all of whom will hold their respective offices for a term of 1 year or until a successor is elected.
Okay.
So under that policy, Ms. Muse, you assume the chair.
All right. Okay, student representative report is next. Okay, are our student representatives still here? Ah, they're here. How are you? Muhammad Ali, how are
We
you?
didn't lose them, did we?
Oh, they were very patient.
No,
Where are they?
no, and Madison's still here. All right. You guys have a report for us?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So I guess to start off, so for April events, so students will hopefully be returning back to full in-person learning starting next week, Monday. And those who have opted for fully remote, they will be staying fully remote. A few concerns were brought up that students would like to have dessert and snacks from culinary, maybe get like culinary lunches on Friday.
Okay.
Although this happened in March 26th, the robotics competition took place and the results were out early April. And Team 5313A placed 8th, and Team 5313B placed 26th. And Team 5312A ranked 660 in the world, while Team 5313B ranked 1,447 in the world. And these teams compete against other robotics teams from all over the world, from China, USA, UK, and other countries, etc. Also, for competitions, this Friday, Skills USA, the state competition, will be taking place. So that's for competitions. For for events, students in drafting, advanced manufacturing, design, and visual communication. The shops came together and they helped design to make a new sled for JD, which is pretty cool. And then earlier this month, the freshmen had the last shop exploratory on April 1st, and they chose the shop on April 12th, and they'll place into the shop of their choosing. And then for the grades for term 3 ended on April 1st, and the report cards came out on April 8th. So for 9th graders, there were 114 honors and 70 high honor students. For 10th grade, there are 93 honor students and 45 high honor students. 11th grade was 106 honor students and 35 high honor students. And 12th grade was 91 honor students and 48 high honor students. And then for the seniors of the month for chosen for April was Susanna Gillis and Stephen Paspasodo. I don't know how to say the last name.
Papsadero.
Pasadero. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Continuing on, the gymnasium was renamed in honor of Coach Mark Donovan, which I believe many people in this meeting actually attended. Overall, that was a really great event. The football season came to a close the other day, and they ended with a 3-4 record. Unfortunately, it's not the season everyone had hoped for, but our team worked with the best they could with the given circumstances. And Shawsheen seniors, as we all could see, were extremely upset about not having a traditional prom after it got canceled again. And from that, there was massive backlash from students and parents across social media where they expressed the ideas and concerns of pushing prom until after graduation, having prom 2 to 3 weeks earlier, having prom in a bigger field like the football field, going to school full time for 2 weeks, but not being allowed one night for an event, and concerns about what will happen to the money raised for prom, all of which was resolved because the prom date was pushed back until June 8th after we've already graduated. And prom will still have a few regulations, like only Shawsheen students can attend, only seniors, we have to sign a consent form, and people are encouraged to take a COVID test pre-prom. And Shawsheen will have a spirit week coming up from May 17th to the 21st. From Monday to Friday, we'll have days like Pajama Day, Luau, Shawsheen Sports Day, Throwback Thursday, and College Career Day. And 11th graders are going to not be required to take the ELA and Mathematics MCAS this year to earn their competency determination, which was determined by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. And although students may take the MCAS for scholarship opportunities, if the number of students who choose to not take the MCAS are small, the date of the test will be pushed back to early June instead of late May. That is all we have.
Okay. Well, thank you. I do have one question about like the students of the month. Did they put that in the newspaper? I know Tewksbury's always gets into the town crier or something. Is that in the newspaper with the pictures of the kids?
It should be, Pat. I talked to Andy Pigeon.
I'll follow up. I think it traditionally is, but sometimes the papers don't pick it up, but I'll follow up.
It was on the Twitter, but I like to get as much PR out there.
Does anyone have any idea of how those people are picked by any chance?
It's interesting you say that, Madison, because I'm involved now through the Rook Elk sponsors it. That's one of my things I'm involved with also. Our teachers are sent nomination forms.
Mm.
And they fill out and then they're picked by Mr. Lavoie's office with, I don't know who, he must have some people that work with him who pick it, but there's teachers have to submit names. We were all asked, when I was a teacher there, we were all asked names to put in, Madison.
Okay, thank you.
That's how they work it.
Brad, I will tell you that by chance, both the April students are Bill Rickers students. So just in terms of, reaching out to the papers.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for these two students who give up their time to be with us?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we really thank you. And I heard both of you are going to U Lowell. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Great.
Smart.
That's great.
Your job is to find two.
Well, we'll see you next month.
Your job is to find two people to take over your jobs for the fall. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thanks to both.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Well, approval of bills and payrolls, I do have a question about that because I think we actually should see all those bills at some point and we don't. And I know how other schools do it. They go in and they sign for them. We used to sign at our meetings and we don't anymore. But I at least think we should at least be sent the bills and payroll so we at least see them. I see the $10,000 ones and so does the treasurer, but that's basically the only people who see the bills and payroll anymore.
Chairman Muse, is that
And I understand it's because of the pandemic, but
Chairman
all
Muse,
right.
is that concern the legal bills? Pat, the legal, are we putting?
No, I'm not talking about legal. This is all of the
understand.
payroll and all,
When are we approving the legal bills?
everything we pay every month. Right.
We used to pass that big notebook around. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, well, it was like 3 or 4 pieces of paper we would pass around. Yes.
Yes.
And I think because of the pandemic, it's been the superintendent and the business manager sign off on it. So I think we've got to change that. All right, correspondence. Okay.
Before we do that,
we have a bill from Howard Greenspin. Oh, you have something to say? What?
we just have the bills from Howard and 2 from.
And the bills from, right. Yeah, so I need a motion to approve Howard's bills.
A motion.
Second.
Can I have a second? Okay, Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
you're muted. Kent,
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Okay.
Nancy,
Karen. That's a yes.
Patty.
Nancy.
yes.
Cheryl.
Yes,
Cheryl, is that a yes?
that's a yes.
I think, did I get everybody?
Nope.
All right, their votes, yes.
I
Unanimous
vote
vote.
yes.
Okay, now I need a vote on
Madam-
Madam. Yes.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
And this thought just occurred to me, and I don't know how it hasn't occurred to me in the past 12 months.
Okay.
In my 25 years on this committee, when you mentioned the warrants, we have always required a quorum of
Yep.
committee members to pass the warrants. If in
Sign
fact
'em,
that-
yes.
that is a school policy, did we change the policy? And if not, how have we been paying our bills?
What do you mean the
To be
warrant?
truthful, Bob,
That's the thing that
I've been a
Nancy's
little
talking
amiss
about.
too, because I thought of it last month. I actually thought of it last month and I'm like, how are we paying these bills? I think we must have, I don't know, and maybe Melanie would know this. Did we authorize the
I think-
superintendent and the business
might-
manager? to
We
do this?
might have, Pat.
I
That's the
don't
thing
remember
Nancy's
taking
talking.
any vote on that.
Bob, I know, that's what Nancy's talking. We passed around the notebook. And
Yes,
had
the
all
binder, correct.
all the binder,
Right.
and all the bills.
Right, and
Yes,
I
exactly.
real, and it, right, so I'm not, Melanie's there or no?
No Melanie.
Melanie was saying she was having
Brad,
some.
do you know?
No, but when I started July 1st, the committee had already been in COVID mode, so,
And that's probably it. Now that I think of it, because we always do this at the end of the year, we always authorize them to pay the bills during the summer. So I don't think it ever ended.
May I
And
make
it
a
should have.
suggestion?
And I think, yes,
Perhaps we should find a way, I mean, somebody, perhaps between now and the next meeting, we can come up with a policy or a vote authorizing the warrants to be executed by electronic signatures. Everybody's using electronic until we can get back together in person. Because if in fact
That's
a
good.
quorum of signatures is required to pay the warrant,
right.
we haven't been doing that for the last year. So perhaps we can
That's true.
change our policy, at least for now, and send the warrants out by secure email and let the members sign them electronically, even through dot loop or some electronic method, because most of the contracts today are signed electronically.
We should have been doing that.
Everything's signed
Right.
electronically.
No point. I'm gonna take.
Taryn,
Yeah, I'm gonna take the lawyers.
Yeah.
bills, for example.
Lawyers.
So we see a bill that Howard did XYZ and charged us for. He's already done the work. Now we're voting whether or not we're gonna pay him, like, no.
Actually,
Like,
that's not what I'm
that's
talking
different.
about. I'm
That's
talking
different,
about the
Taryn.
warrant.
We're
I'm
talking
not
about,
talking about Howard's bill at all.
But I'm saying
Or,
bills in
Yeah.
general, shouldn't we
Yeah.
be proving that the money is gonna be spent instead of risking that we didn't want the money spent after it's spent?
well, I think
well, because
to-
it's a legal bill, because it's a legal bill and that's a school committee legal bill. So it's like you getting a bill in the mail and you just approve, yes, that work was done. So
I
the
mean,
superintendent is telling us that work's done, we say, yes, we'll pay for it.
I
But
think
he's
to
gonna
a great extent, Taryn, once you set the budget, you're kind of relying on the folks that you pay to make sure that that money's being spent within the budget.
Right.
And those warrants were always passed around at a meeting, I suppose, as a checks and balances, and to let any committee member who wanted to look at them, review them before he or she signed them. And
Right.
I think that if we can't meet in person, we should find some way of at least
Right.
letting the members a majority of the members sign those warrants, because we haven't been doing it.
I definitely agree with you. That is not, I'm not saying we don't want to see them. I'm just questioning the timing. I mean, for example, when we fixed the auditorium, the work wasn't started until the school committee approved that the work was going to happen. And there was a budget, there was an estimate, it's going to cost $1,000. I mean, obviously it was more, but, and we approved that. And if it had been $10,000, they would have come back to us and asked us before they did the work. But once the work is done, it's already been approved. Like, I think what you're talking about is very valid, but it should happen before the work is done that we're paying for, you know.
Well, that's why we do a budget. We actually have approved it. We do a budget.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
Right.
you have approved it. You approved the budget.
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong. The book that we pass around is items that the budget is already approved. For example,
Yes.
if someone needs to be paid to fix the copy machine,
It's been
then we're
done.
just signing that book to say
Correct.
that that's what's going on. This is money in the budget.
Yes.
We're signing to say that's how it's being allocated.
It's
Here's-
after the fact. It's not before the fact.
Correct,
May I ask,
correct.
may I ask through the chair that perhaps the superintendent can, prior to the next meeting, give us a solution so that we can at least see those warrants for approval and sign them electronically?
I would be happy to do that.
And that, in this day and age, when we're not meeting in person, it would
Yeah.
seem to be a relatively simple solution to the problem, so.
Because Bob, the bills are being paid somehow.
Correct.
They've been paid.
Well,
They
I
have to be
agree.
paid no matter what.
They've
I'd
been
be
being
happy-
paid, and we're the only thing we're approving is Howard's bills, but the other bills have been paid every day. Anyway,
Correct.
I'd be happy to do that. I'll bring
Thank
that
you
for
back.
I think it's more the
Ms. Mo-
formality. Another committee I'm on, the like conservation, they have to, if it's something they issue for the town, it has to be signed by members of the committee. So you could have some
Right.
process where people come in and sign the actual warrants. Or what they do is they put it outside. I mean, you give the people a window, an hour or two, people show up, that have allocate to sign, and I mean, that's the way to do it. And then that way it minimizes interaction.
Hopefully we can be back in the building soon.
Yeah, we hope so.
I'll bring something forward to you next meeting. You also have two bills from Nuttall.
Yeah, two Nuttall
McAvoy
McAvoy
choice.
bills. We get a motion.
Motion to approve the bills from Nuttall McAvoy.
Second.
All right. Okay, Ms. Bartoloni,
Yes.
Ms. Gillis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Mr. Fusco,
yes,
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Kim,
Yeah.
Mr. Moffett,
Yes,
Mr. Fiore.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, it's a unanimous vote.
Pat, can I ask a question? Pat,
Yep.
may I- Just, the legal bill, should that be under always approval of bills and payroll and not correspondence?
No,
How do you like to? address
Well,
that?
it's always been under correspondence.
Okay, I was just curious.
It has to do with, legal bills are really our bill.
Okay, just wondered.
If you go into a school, the school committee, under the school committee are, the attorneys come under the school committee.
Thank you. Okay.
It's like part of our budget.
So the bills and payroll are the warrants. Okay, just wondering.
Right,
Thank you so
and
much.
those
Thank you.
bills are the
Thank you for
warrants
clarifying. Thank you.
The daily. Okay,
Can
now
can I
we
make a-
have public
can I make a
comment.
We
request?
do
Can I
approve
make a
the-
request?
Yes,
We still have to do the
Yes, Mr.
approval of
Moffett.
the minutes.
oh, yes, I'm sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that.
make a motion, we approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2020.
Wait a minute, Mr. Moffett had something to
Sorry.
say. Can I?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just for the warrants, is it, because you got 40% of new members here, is it possible maybe for the chair or the superintendent just to review the process at a high level for the next meeting for the, like how it, I mean, take COVID out of it, but like what the process would normally be for this at the meeting?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
yes, we can. do that. All right. All right, I forgot the approval of minutes for March 23rd.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of March 23rd.
And
2020.
Ron-
Oh, we just lost Patty's camera. Whoa,
Patty.
Stand by, everybody.
World of Zoom. Where's Pat?
Oh, so I think she's back.
He's back.
Bye.
The pizza I ordered. Here we go.
I can smell dinner in the background.
For the new members, while we're waiting for Patty, you are all going to be invited to attend a seminar put on by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. So Taryn and I went through it Zoom. Kent, did you go to that yet? Have you done that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did it last time.
It was supposed to be
That's
in
really good.
person. Supposed to be a year ago in person, but we did it Zoom over the summer. I thought it was awesome, Kent. Yeah.
No,
So
they
the new
do.
members, they'll be in touch with you. It's they probably won't do it in person again, but it was 3 nights on Zoom. You'll learn everything you need to know. So
Pat,
Cheryl, you'll like that. You'll like
Pat,
that.
can you hear me?
Where's Patty?
Yes, I can, and can you hear
All right.
me?
Yes, we can.
I apologize. My screen went blank and then I had to find fire hydrants and I couldn't see them all.
So, Pat, you
So
were
I
about, you were about to,
apologize. Did
do-
we
you were about to do a roll call
vote on the
vote
minutes?
on the minutes.
On the minutes?
Minutes.
Right.
Yes.
And Cheryl, I think Cheryl
Yes.
and Taryn,
Yes.
Nancy, Ron,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Kim,
Yes.
who do I got left? Kent, Mr.
Yes.
Fiore,
Yeah,
and the chair votes yes. And I truly, that's the first time this has happened to me that I've lost my computer.
All right.
Okay,
Public comments.
now we have public comment.
Ms.
It was a
Muse, you
unanimous
said,
vote, by the way.
Pat, you said that you were contacted by one individual in accordance with
What did I say?
the committee policy for.
Oh, yes, Doreen Healy contacted me.
I'm going to
Yeah.
admit that one person, I think it's a phone number, but I'm going to admit that person into the room.
Yes, Doreen Healy called. Okay,
All right, I'm going to admit that person into the room. Stand by.
Yeah.
The phone caller has been admitted to the room. Please hit *6 to unmute your phone and state your comment, please, and identify yourself. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
All right, wait, let me just.
yes, we can hear you.
All right, now I just want to get rid of my computer thing. So I wanted to talk about, well, first I want to welcome the new members for being on the school committee.
Please identify
because-
yourself to the
Oh,
committee.
I'm sorry, I thought she did. Doreen Healy, Billerica. Now can I go?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, you can
I
go
was
now.
calling. Okay, I was calling about the policies as it seems to me, after going through a lot of the policies, the school committee policies, that we're not following them completely. And I'm going to give you some examples of the JFA policy for admissions. It is not being completely followed. And I'll just give you an example as the admissions committee should be the director of guidance, special ed director, and the dean. I'm being told it's a superintendent, vice principal, and the principal. I don't know how the principal could be on there because she's the one you have to appeal to, but that's not what the policy is. So maybe that's something you all can look at of these policies. And another part of it is when we did the public participation policy and we changed it and spent so much time on this, because to me, is we had a lot more other things to spend time on, but we picked this. So I believe, and if someone can tell me if I'm wrong here, if they want to speak, but the subcommittee, school committee met about the policy subcommittee on 12/15. Then they went and they didn't even have in their packet what they were going to discuss was from the Holliston policy. So they had the meeting and they went to the school committee on 12/15 following that, and they tabled it. So they didn't even talk about it. It was never even talked about at the school committee. So then we had another subcommittee policy meeting on January 26th. That one lasted a whole 4 minutes from 7:01 to 7:05. And in there, they had a memo that was on from January 19th, 21, from the superintendent to the chair, and with the changes of the policy of the public participation policy. So then after the big 4-minute meeting, which only took about a minute to say yes on this policy, the memo, when you brought it to the school committee on January 26th, following the policy subcommittee, they had the memo in their packet on January 26th on from January 19th saying this is the policy changes that we made. And they all voted on it and they said, okay. So how to me is, how can that memo be in the school packet sent out to the school committee on January 21st when it wasn't even fully approved by the subcommittee policy meeting on January 26th in that short 4 minutes? And then there wasn't even a final adoption to it. Nobody even got to speak from the public about this, the staff members, the stakeholders. I mean, people that we pay for this school. And, you know, it really upsets me that I just sat on the phone for this long when we're not following the policies we should be following. And then in that policy subcommittee meeting, it was mentioned by the school committee chair that we don't really need public comment because it's not, you know, you don't have to have it. It's not under open meeting. But under your policy, under the, I think it is the BEDB agenda format, it says will provide for time when any citizen who wishes may speak briefly before the school committee. So yeah, you did have to have it in that policy if it's written over there, unless you wanted to change that policy. So after going through all these policies, I mean, I took a lot of time in this, but I really believe that y'all really should look at the policies. And I have to say, for the time that I just spent on here, it was, this whole thing was just amazing to me, listening to this reorg. And this school needs changes. So I hope we start this school year off with a chair that has run in the past a wonderful meeting, very professional, and knows what to do. And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody else, but I really feel that we need to look at this because there's a lot that needs to be done here. The other policy is safety in the parking lot. So, I mean, there was no crossing guards. There's people coming in the entrance after 2 o'clock, going the wrong way. So if there is anything you can look at for that too, that would be greatly appreciated. So I don't even know if that new public participation policy, you all even did that right. So I don't even think it's really accepted. So maybe you can all look at that. And I put the complaint in, I shared it with you for the admissions, and hopefully we move on from here because I love the school and I put a lot of time and effort into this. I think that's it.
Okay.
Does anyone want to say anything?
Well, thank you. And I will, you know, I will disagree with something you said that you misquoted me, but I said legally, schools do not have to have public comment. I wasn't talking about ours. I was just talking about the legalese. But thank you. And we'll have the policy subcommittee is going to work this year, doing a little more on policy, but thank you very much. Okay, and
And
no one
also
else
the
called to say they would speak, so
That's it.
I'm sorry, you only get,
She went beyond. That's it.
oh, she's gone. And
Let's
actually,
move on.
in reality, she's only supposed to get like 5 minutes and she's gone over time, so,
Can I,
okay.
Madam
ahead.
Chair, can I just
Yes.
make an observation about one of the comments that, and I would ask Dr. Jackson to look into this. I did see the
Okay.
email that went to all of us relative to the crossing guard. And I do understand the issue with the
Right.
town of Billerica. I personally consider the lack of a crossing guard, given the fact that a portion of our driveway is one way at dismissal time. I think that we should, as a group, and I think as an institution, there should be a crossing guard at the exit on Cook Street. That's a very dangerous stretch of roadway. And I would just, understanding the situation and having read Dr. Jackson's email, I would just ask that somehow they find, whether it's through the town of Billerica or whether it's through somebody that we hire and train, that a crossing guard be put out on Cook Street. I think that's a safety issue. And I do understand that with COVID and with the building being half empty, it may not have been a requirement up till now. But on May 8th, we returned to full participation, and I think it's an urgent matter, and I think it's a safety matter that a crossing guard be put out on Cook Street. I just thought I would throw that
Can
out.
I just ask a question of information? I don't know much about the school resource officer. What are the duties of that person? Would that include the crossing guard by any chance?
Not,
I would say no, but I'm going to leave that to Dr. Jackson. So
Yeah, I actually talked to Dr. Jackson about this on, yesterday. And we did talk about, can the school resource officer do that?
no.
Can he talk to the police and maybe get a police detail? And I did have a parent ask me, and I was going to bring this up during the superintendent's report. A parent did ask me to ask this as well, because we did know the kids were coming into school. So this is a little late in the game that all of a sudden we decide we need a crossing guard. And when we knew we were coming back to school a few weeks ago anyway.
well, we're not.
And I'm not sure if,
we're not deciding that we need one. We've always had
Can you
one
hear me?
up until this year.
He retired, Bob.
right, we always,
No,
yeah,
but we've
but I mean,
always had
because
one in.
COVID evidently. Yes, and I don't know what happened. That was the other question. What happened to, we had some kind of agreement with the Ditson School where their
Yeah.
crossing guard would come up here. And I don't know what happened with that. That was the other question. You know, what happened with the agreement with Billerica that crossing guard would come to our school. So I don't know, Brad, if you did talk to the police department like we had discussed, or.
So you guys have taken all the wind out of my sails from my superintendent's report.
It was
but
unintentional.
No, because
maybe I could just transition now, answer this question as part of the superintendent's report. We will have a crossing guard at that exit on Monday when our full students return full time.
Great.
All of our students return.
Great.
Great.
We've reallocated the hours of our evening security individual to start at dismissal, which we can do a little easier because of COVID and the fact that the school's not open as late at night. Then we will we'll have to address this more permanent with a more permanent solution for the fall. So I can first, that's my first general announcement. In terms of just general other superintendent, the other pieces of superintendent's report, I did want to report to the committee that today, Tuesday, April 27th, we had 25, young women participate in the Mass Girls in Trades virtual conference. from 8:30 to 1 during the school day, and they were using our auditorium, woohoo, to do that, thanks to guidance counselors Amanda Smaha and Kelly McFadden for organizing that. Wanted to remind parents and committee members that Friday, April 30th is a scheduled early release day for students, and we will be having our students participating in Skills USA competition at the state level. And I asked Ms. Cook how many students were going to be doing that, and she told me, and I forgot the number, 61. Oh, good vamping. 61 students will be participating in Skills USA competition at the state level. I did want to formally announce that we will be returning to 100% in-person learning for all students for grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 on Monday, May 3rd. The state came out today and set the deadline to be no later than Monday, May 17th. But we had established the date of May 3rd about 6 weeks ago. I also wanted, before I go into the two items under the superintendent's report, I did want to just remind committee members and the public that we are in town meeting season. We begin town meeting season this Saturday in Wilmington, Saturday, March 1st at 9 a.m. Followed, Tewksbury's town meeting begins Monday, May 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Followed by Bill Ricka's on Saturday, May 8th at 10 a.m. Burlington is Monday, May 10th at 7:30 p.m. and Bedford is Saturday, May 15th at 9 a.m. I did want to go over two things in your one thing in your packet, which is will take up some significant work for the early fall and maybe even over the summer for the policy subcommittee. The Board of Elementary and Secondary Education is considering revisions to the Career Vocational Technical Education Admissions Regulations, 603 CMR 4.03. Subsection 6, subsection A. And they will require some complete and thorough review of our policy for admissions to ensure compliance. These are draft policies at this point, draft amendments to these policies, and the memo was in your packet that outlined what those changes are. The primary purpose of these changes is to ensure equal access and equitable access, particularly for students in protected classes. It also will require the school committee to annually review and approve our admission policy. It does place in the board, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the authority to review our admissions results for their relationship, to ensure that they are in parallel with the percentages of protected classes in our 8th grade, in our 5 sending districts. There is a little bit of a glitch to the process that I'm working with DESE on for a few districts, Shawsheen being one of them. For districts, what they do is they take the percentages of racial minority or ELL students, English language learner students, or low income students, and then compare it to the results of our admissions, which are blind, by the way. But they use as the denominator to compare these numbers, they use the percentages of students in our member districts. But some of our member districts are Metco participants. And the Metco students are, have there's a larger number of Metco students, a disproportionate number of Metco students that are racial minorities. And those students are not eligible to apply to Shawsheen because they do not live in the home district. They, for example, Bedford is a Metco participant. Metco students that attend Bedford Public Schools for K-8 are not eligible to apply to Shawsheen because they are not Bedford residents. They can apply to the vocational technical school that serves their residents, their community of residents. So we have to kind of work out some of the numbers. But this is a significant change. It's been worked on for a long time, and it is in the process right now. It is just the board has voted to solicit public comment, and it is expected that the board will vote these changes to the regulations at their June 2021 meeting. Finally, if I can share my screen here, I wanted to, where is it? Let me, just hold on just a second while I try to share this screen. I did want to show everybody, can everybody see? You should be seeing the Shawsheen website. I wanted to show you on the home page of our Shawsheen website, there is now an icon for social emotional wellness. The committee had asked that we add some information on our website regarding social emotional wellness and student mental health. This is the page that is up. It is the work primarily of our Director of Student Services, Jeff Albert, and special thanks to our Technology Integration Specialist, Greg Bendel, who took this content and made it readable and presentable. So it basically provides resources. The first section is some information about our social emotional health curriculum that is taught through our physical education and wellness program. And so that parents have an understanding of what our social emotional health curriculum is that our students receive. The second is an access to Shawsheen resources, whether they be the Director of Student Services, the Director of Guidance, all the guidance counselors, the school psychologists, school adjustment counselors, and who to access in terms of guidance, administrative assistant, and our school nurses. And then some community resources are also included. I want to expand this list. For example, Wilmington Family Counseling, I know is a town budget supported mental health program that are available to students who live in Wilmington. I think many of our communities have either the similar programs or youth and family services programs that are subsidized, that are part of the town budget. I want to include those in here as well. So this is just a first pass at this website. You can access it. There's also for an opportunity up here. Parents or staff members who have ideas on how to improve this resource guide should email their suggestions to Jeff Albert, our Director of Student Services. So I wanted to share this with the committee. This is an example of something that was brought up earlier this year, and something that I think will add significant, will be a help to parents seeking resources. Stop sharing my screen. And Madam Chair, that concludes the superintendent's report for tonight.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Brad?
Ron, was that you?
Yes, I just have a question of Dr. Jackson.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
do we have a crossing guard in the morning? Did you make that, is that what you said?
No, we're adding one in the afternoon for
All right.
dismissal.
So what are we doing in the morning there? Nothing?
The traffic in the morning is traditionally much different
Okay,
because students and staff members are not all leaving at the exact same time. Well,
Correct.
staff members aren't
Yeah,
leaving.
I understand.
It's more buses
Yeah.
come in, don't come
Yeah.
in all at once, et cetera.
I thank you.
So we
Yeah.
focus more on the evening, on dismissal.
Yeah. They, this item was discussed at the Borica Selectmen's meeting. There was, people in that area have contacted the selectmen. So, yeah, I guess the crossing guard used to do us and then go up the street. So we don't have, I don't know, I know, it's leaving a vacant. Hopefully, well, I'm glad you solved it because, that'll work.
Just for a little clarification, I know Billerica Crossing Guard, and most of them have multiple schools that they do one right after another because the different schools open at different times. And wherever the Ditson Crossing Guard goes, they can't logistically be in two places at once, so that they would go, they have another responsibility in another school, and that's why they can't come down the street. Because I think they've been asked even by parents and stuff, and it's just logistically impossible.
And the school buses have been asking as well when they go by if there's anything that can be done. So, yeah, the afternoon, I think it's a good temporary fix, but definitely for the fall, we need to get that position for that.
I think the person, excuse me, Christine,
Yeah.
the person was at Shawsheen, went up the street to the Ditson for years. And that person retired, I think, anyway.
Yes.
But moving forward, before there's a major accident out there, thank you.
There's a definite difference between the morning and the evening because I drive my daughter to school, and prior to COVID, the mornings really aren't the problem. It's the afternoon. The afternoon's really tough.
Okay.
Tough on the buses, tough on the people picking up, and of course,
they were
new drivers coming out.
Yeah, they would, and the selectmen were talking about the traffic on Alexander Road is getting backed up and over there, so that was becoming an issue. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for fixing that issue, even temporarily.
That was a team effort. Ms. Hagman and Ms. Cook were instrumental in doing that as well.
That's excellent.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, can I back up?
So subcommittee report.
Patty?
Patty, I just have a question.
Bob had a question.
Yeah.
Can I back up to
Okay,
Dr.
Bob.
Jackson's comments on the DESE proposed regulation changes? In that
Okay.
memorandum, there were two attachments that were not included in our package. One is the policy and one is the proposed revised policy. Could you possibly send that memo with the attachments?
Sure.
Because it would be helpful to be able to read the red line policy and the clean policy.
You're talking about the regulations, not the policy.
Yes, the regulation.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Regulations.
Yep. I'll send that out. That information just is public already. It's on the and I'll send it. I'm just saying for members people who are watching, that information is available on the DESE website. But I will send that out to red line regulations.
May I just ask one quick question? I know we're getting.
Okay, sure.
First, I'd like to just compliment the superintendent and whomever worked on the wellness and social emotional page. Has that been the link to that resource been sent to students and or parents yet?
No, I wanted to, since it was a request of the committee, I really, it just went live today. I wanted to premiere it here. This was the grand world premiere of that web page. So we will send that out tomorrow.
Okay.
Very well done.
All right.
But I had a drum roll.
I was going for the searchlights in the background.
Brad, you're going to send us what on the DESE? Can you say that again?
Mr. Peterson asked for the red line regulation, so a copy of the specific DESE regulations that they are in the specific amendments that the commissioner is recommending be made to the regulations.
So the memo, what you sent didn't include that.
Well, I sent a summary of that.
Okay,
but I
thank
didn't
you.
send the specific details, but I'll
Thank you.
send that out tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay, cool.
Okay, we still got quite a bit of meeting. We got subcommittee reports.
The Chairman Muse.
Facility subcommittee.
Facility Subcommittee met on April 14th. The meeting was prompted by an email that was sent out from the Massachusetts School Building Authority. As chair of the committee, I reached out to Dr. Jackson and said, I'd like to start a conversation about the future of Shawsheen. So the request for proposals came out really late this year. The window closes. We are not, obviously, we decided we are not in any position to jump in there yet. But I've started the discussion with Dr. Jackson and the members of my committee. We plan to have a further meeting in June to maybe next year to maybe reach out and submit a letter of interest. We may not get money, as Bob Peterson alluded to earlier, but we have to start something for the future here. So that's what the committee decided. We'd like to meet before the summertime and definitely continue discussion in the fall. So if Dr. Jackson wants to add anything else, I think that's what we talked about.
May I say something while we wait to see if Brad comes back? I'm also on the facility subcommittee.
Did we lose Brad?
I just wanted to let you know that one thing we talked about at the subcommittee level was that, you know, when we ask for money, we need the towns to buy in. We need support from the towns. We obviously don't do it without them.
Right.
And so part of what we want to try to do next year is show the towns what we are, show them what we're doing, what we need to do, where our deficits are. Like Bob said, looks good on the outside. Let's show them on the inside that, you know, and I'm making this up, the automotive department needs new, I don't know, I'm making it up, but show, like, let the town people, managers, et cetera, see we're not just, you know, adding air conditioning. We have really good ideas and this is what we want to do. And part of that is also to bring all of us in, because I'm in my 8th year at Shawsheen because I've had kids who went to the school. I know there's some of you that have maybe never set foot in school because of COVID or because you don't happen to have kids in the school recently. Let's get all of us in there too and let us walk around, obviously escorted and, you know, not just wandering freely, but show us what is going on so that we understand why we're asking for what we ultimately ask for. I just wanted to add that.
Sounds good.
Anybody else want to add anything?
Brad, are you back?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm back.
Brad, did you want to add anything else? Kent was at
No,
that meeting
I
also.
appreciate that.
Okay, so we just kind of get the ball rolling. That's all. And
Can I make a comment?
Kent, go ahead.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Taryn. I think like the more support you're gonna get, because I think like from that meeting, it's a huge political thing where you're gonna have to, whether you're giving selectmen tours for the towns or finance committees to get their buy-in. So I don't know if it's, you know, like at the next whoever's the members of that subcommittee, we should come up with a plan, whether it's a presentation to these people in the fall or to get the process rolling, get some more people to get out there, the more you're gonna get buy-in from them. So, you know, I mean, I understand every town has their own different, you know, like the auditorium, for example. I mean, that's a big thing. It's going to have to be redone and, you know, different areas. So I think the more you get these people in to see what we're talking about, it's going to be easier to do it visually. So I concur with Terrence's point.
Yep. And we already kind of hinted to the Berwick Finance Committee. Yeah, so the building is great, as Bob said. The building is great, but we got to decide the future. So we'll continue that conversation down the road. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for that committee? Okay, new business. We did school choice. We did the reorg. Last day of
Madam
school.
Chair, can I make one quick comment
Yes.
on the reorg item that was on the agenda?
Okay, yep.
Just very, very briefly, contrary to what was suggested by a member of the public who called in, who suggested it was a difficult or whatever protracted discussion, I just want to say I think the discussion was very helpful. It was helpful to the newer members of the committee. I want to appreciate what Pat and Bob both did in responding to questions we had. I think it speaks well for the committee that our two most experienced members were able to help us all learn. I think that's good for the public. And we know we have at least a couple of major roles going forward. Somebody shepherding the committee through a major transition period, somebody shepherding possibly a superintendent transition somewhere in the foreseeable future. So we know we have some major roles here. I thought the discussion was good. And I think it speaks well of our two most experienced members, Pat and Bob, that you participated willingly in all of that. So contrary to what some others may have suggested. So we
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Between the two of you, we'll have a well-run committee and a well-run superintendent search.
Thank you.
I think that's excellent. I don't think one person should want either job. So let's, you want both jobs. So let's.
That's right. All right, we need a vote on the last day of school.
It would be my recommendation, the committee vote to establish Monday, June 14th, 2021 as the last day of the 2020-2021 school year.
No motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Gillis,
Yes.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Ms. Bartoloni,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
yes.
Ms. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Moffett,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, unanimous vote. Okay, now we have we have the authorization to borrow. All right, Superintendent, can you explain this a little bit?
This is a standard housekeeping article that's in motion that's included every year that authorizes the district treasurer to borrow money in anticipation of revenue. So it's called it's a short-term note. Would it ever be required for a cash flow issue in case we had a large payment due, but the money coming in from either Chapter 70 or our member districts didn't allow us to make payroll or something. So this allows the district treasurer to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue. And it would be paid off within the year. It's a less than 1 year note.
Right. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, have we actually done that at any time? I know we do this every year, but
I don't know.
you don't know. All right.
We need a motion.
Yes, we need a motion.
No motion.
All right, we got a second?
Second.
We got a second. Okay. Ms. Gillis,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Ms. Bartoloni,
Yes. Excuse me.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Moffett,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, unanimous vote. Okay, then we have the next authorization
The
to
authorization
spend.
to spend is the other piece of this, which is basically the committee has approved the budget, assuming it passes at our respective town meetings. This authorizes the superintendent and assistant superintendent to spend those funds up to the budget line items that you have established. And I just want
Okay.
to, if I can, there are very specific bidding and laws that we are required. It's called Mass General Law,
Right.
Chapter 30B, that Pat Muse, I know, is an expert on, but that do regulate what we have to put out for bid, when we have to ask for 3 quotations for costs, et cetera. So there are specific rules that the state puts out that all municipalities and municipal entities such as a regional school district have to follow when spending money for proper business practices to ensure that money is being properly and efficiently spent, and that the taxpayer is getting a good bang for their buck. I can assure you, with Ms. Hagman at the helm of your fiscal ship, you are in very, very good shape. I can't get anything through. I can't even get a purchase order. It's awful.
Yeah.
She runs a tight ship. She does a great job.
She does run a tight ship.
I-
Absolutely.
I have a question. It might muddy the waters here. The last part of the sentence that says, and further to approve line item changes in the fiscal year 21 budget. So that's without our approval. I mean, if we approve this, you can change some of the line items of this year's budget. Is that how I see that?
That is what it says. This is, as I understand it, is a standard
Okay.
motion that's been brought forward year after year. I think, as it's been explained to me in the past, the line item transfers are reviewed prior to the end of the fiscal year with the budget subcommittee.
Subcommittee. Okay.
And then to ensure that, so all the line items, because there are some, right now, there are some line items that are overspent and some that are underspent. And the bottom line is, none of us can exceed the bottom line of the budget. And some line items at this point in time are overspent, and some are underspent.
Okay. All righty. I need a motion.
if you
Anybody
would-
else have any questions? What? Yes, Brad.
No, that's it. That's all. So that's the motion that
What are you gonna say?
we recommend.
I'll make a motion that the motion be adopted.
Second.
Okay.
Christine has a question.
Okay, Christine, I'm sorry. I have no pictures, so I can't see anybody raise a hand or anything. Okay. Christine?
Is there a limit that we put on the approval of the line item changes, Patty?
You can't go over the budget. See, that's,
Is there a limit within that, like a percentage limit or something? Or are we just going to leave that fully open?
well, we leave it, and then if they actually do transfers, it's supposed to go through to the budget subcommittee. Yeah.
If you wish to eliminate that last phrase, that that is fine with me. I think
To be truthful, I actually do want to eliminate it. Does anybody else? I mean, does anybody else have a problem with the last part of that sentence?
I have no problem eliminating it.
Nope.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
happy to
So the motion
Should
would
we
be.
be happy to eliminate it?
eliminate, yeah.
The motion would be to accept the motion with the last line edited.
Yes.
Oh, you can make a
And
motion.
on by the committee.
By the committee, period.
Yeah, by the committee, period.
Got it.
Okay. All right, who did it? Taryn, you did the motion. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, and Ron, did you second that?
I think vice versa, whatever. I made it,
Okay,
she
oh, I'm sorry.
seconded.
Okay.
It's all good. I made it, she seconded. Okay, we're good, Pat. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, as amended. Okay, Miss Gillis,
Yes.
Mr. Fusco,
Yes.
Mrs. Bedian,
Yes.
Miss Bartoloni,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Miss Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Moffett.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, it's adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, before I go to future agenda items, I realized I missed correspondence when we did it. We just did the bills.
You
So we
also-
did have a couple of thank yous.
I'm sorry, you also
What,
skipped,
Nancy?
you skipped old business, Madam Chair.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
Oh, Pat,
All right, well, let me do this. Wow, this is a bad day for me.
the computer problems,
right.
Pat. All right, start again.
It's only a little
I
lot,
have no,
so tiny.
I have
little
no
lot.
pictures. I have no pictures of anybody. I've
can
just
see
got
you.
names. I don't
I
know
can-
what's going on.
We can see
I
you.
know, and I'm too close. So, all right, we got a thank you letter from Mary Grace Ferrari. We sent her a thing because her mother passed away. The Bendels sent us a thank you. They had a new baby. Congratulations. And we sent a thank you to the owner and manager at Restucia because they allowed us to use their rink for that sled hockey. I hope everybody got to watch that little
Yeah,
video of the sled hockey. That was awesome.
that's good.
And then Mr. Gillis had also sent us a letter as well. All right, now old business.
Okay,
I'm gonna, okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead, you
Go
start.
ahead, Nancy. Well, I was just going to mention, and I wrote it in there. I don't know why I didn't. I had sent a couple of emails we got from the MASC to the new members, and they all joined me in the Division 8 meeting I think it was a few Saturdays ago. And I think a few of them joined me on the Day of the Hill that they had last week. So that was very nice. And I thank you guys for joining me. And I think it was informative. And actually they talked about the amendments to the vocational admissions. So they should have had a little step up here than all of you before this meeting. Okay, now, Mrs. Bedian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to remind you that I had brought up previously a question about the need for the SRO. I don't know enough about it. I wanted to know more, why we have one and what he does. Also, I had asked for a specific breakdown of what's incorporated in our civics curriculum. I mean, we had a brief answer from staff. I can't remember when. But I really feel that civics is very important, and I wanted to see what we say and what we don't say.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think, Pat, I think the academic coordinator.
Brad, can we?
Pat, I think the academic coordinator did talk about that civics thing. They're adding classes.
Yeah.
Danica Johnson.
Well, maybe we just need a little
Sure.
reminder of exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
And so Brad, that can be put on the next agenda about information about the SRO and the civics.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Future agenda items. Anybody else have any requests they want to put on the agenda?
Just,
I
sorry, go ahead.
would like to discuss the possibility of having meetings in person. We are opening the school. I would hope that would mean that we could meet. I realize the governor has not lifted his order. I watched his press conference today, and a lot of stuff is being lifted by August. I'm not exactly sure where we fit in that, but I would love to have everybody have the opportunity to meet in person, physically distanced and masked, of course, before the end of the year.
I would second that. I'm not a Zoom fan, and I think as soon as,
Right.
I mean, I think things are loosening up very quickly, and I hope that within the next month or two, we're able to go back to, Wilmington just went back to in-person meetings Monday. And
Yeah,
I
I
also,
would like to go back, yeah.
we consider that.
Have most of us had the shots, the 2 shots?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
There
on.
any,
Yes.
is there anybody who has not?
I'm on the list for May 4th for my first one.
Oh, cool. That's
Good.
great.
Getting number
I got-
2 tomorrow.
Great.
Drink a lot of Gatorade.
It's good. Yeah.
Windmill.
Make sure you're near your bed.
I had the Moderna. Yeah, you'll feel a little
I was
funky.
fine, don't worry about it.
Everybody's different. But if we have the,
That's right.
Patty and Bob, you would answer this. I'd love to meet in the end of May back in the room. Can we invite the public?
I
in,
would
or
love to meet at May.
Is that going to be possible to have the public there, or are we limited? What's the state telling
Again,
us?
this would be a committee decision.
Yeah, what's the state telling us? I know.
My recommendation would be that we try to hold our May meeting socially distanced with no
Sure.
in-person attendance, and maybe in the summer meeting, we go back to regular attendance.
Sure, thank you.
So
I think there may be an issue under the open meeting law. If you're going to go have a meeting in person for the committee, there may need to be the allowance for public attendance, which in the case of Shawsheen
It'll be Zoom.
might mean something other than the traditional meeting room, such as the auditorium. Just a thought.
The library.
I wasn't sure if
You
you
watch by Zoom? Would that qualify? Or do they have to be in person?
Well, we have to be able to broadcast it live to all communities.
if you think
And
that
we just don't have that capability.
Mm. Right.
can we
All right, so if we use the library, could we do it in the library?
We can figure out a place to meet that
Okay.
meets the criteria.
All
It
right,
may-
so Bob was
the issue-
gonna,
Just so everybody's aware,
Right.
the issue may be that we would then not be broadcasting our meetings.
we
Okay.
broadcast the meetings last year when we were still in the school committee room? Is that not possible in the library?
I think we also broadcasted from the library.
In the, yeah. What do we do in the fall, Bob? Previous
What-
fall?
When
There
we
were
were
some of
meeting
us
in
at
the-
home
when we
and
were-
some of us in person.
some of us were in the meeting room.
Yeah, when we met in the fall, it was televised.
Yes.
I couldn't hear you.
We
Yeah, there was some,
worked on that.
there was some issues with that, and also there was some, that was from the meeting room.
But I also think that Brian's correct. I think if you're gonna have an in-person meeting, you have to at least make a provision for in-person attendance.
Absolutely. Oh, I agree with that as well.
But I don't think you can, I don't think you can have members of the public. I think that's what Mr. O'Donnell was pointing out.
No, I think you have to allow for,
Oh, you do?
You
Okay.
have to.
you have to
Yeah,
allow
I
for members of the
think
public.
he's correct. So.
If
Well,
you see-
how did we deal with that in the fall when it was partially televised, partially Zoom and partially in person? Was there anybody in the room then? Was public allowed then?
Yes, the answer is yes. There were people in the room.
There
Not a
were.
lot.
Public,
Okay.
but not the public, Bob.
No, the public was there.
Were they?
In one particular meeting, Mr. Bagney was there. So the public was present.
Oh, yes, yes.
If
yes,
you
yes,
read Governor Baker's law, it only says that in-person attendance of members of the public will not be permitted. It doesn't actually say what we do. It only clarifies what the public does. I'm not saying we shouldn't invite them in. I read that thing very closely today, and I'm not a lawyer. You guys are, but as I read it, it specifically says no public, but it doesn't say, other than limiting numbers, it doesn't say about us. And I would think if the school is allowed to have 25 students in a classroom, the school is allowed to have 15 adults in a bigger room, I would think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brad.
I think we can accommodate the committee and any members of the public who wish to attend at some place in at Shawsheen, whether it be the cafeteria or the library. My only caution is that I don't think we have a provision for broadcasting a live meeting. That has not been a practice that we, that I understand has been done to a great extent at Shawsheen.
Other than we kind of tried to do it in the fall with limited successes.
Well, we did it with Zoom because we had some members who were remote.
Right. Oh,
So that
and not
was-
with YouTube. All right.
That was we used Zoom and YouTube, so that was technically that was available. But we don't have a camera and microphones, so we don't have the setups that all of the towns do for their school committee meetings and their select board meetings, et cetera. So, and I'm not suggesting it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, I just want to set everybody's expectation that public participation would require public attendance.
I say we go for
All
it.
right, but public, we have never had more than 10 people in our meeting
Right.
room from the public. Or very rarely have we had more than 10.
Maybe they missed us.
So
Rose.
Pent up demand.
I'm just
There you
saying,
go.
so if we have a public meeting, it's very unlikely that we'll have 50 people show up.
I'm not worried about that. I agree. I mean, we can accommodate the members of the public that do show up.
Right.
Well, the question is, do you want to start it in May, or do you want to wait until the June meeting?
I would like to start it in May,
I would-
if possible.
With Bob.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, so you want
All
a
right.
motion for that?
Um,
Okay.
why don't you do what we did last year? If you like, some people are comfortable, why don't you, for the first one, give people the option to attend in person, and other people can, if they still are not comfortable, they can do,
Zoom?
May
Well, then
I,
we'd have to do a Zoom meeting as well.
may I,
Well, if we do that, then maybe we still have to have the public? If it's partial?
I think if we're gonna have an in-person meeting, I think I agree with Kent. We should offer the Zoom option for those that aren't comfortable. And I think we should
Okay.
open the meeting to the public, because I agree with Dr. Jackson. We certainly have the capability of accommodating churches to it. Why can't we do it?
And I think this was a discussion last year where we were going to look at, this is beyond COVID, but having better broadcasts of the meetings. I don't know where that stood, but that was something that came up last year, better microphones, better technology in the, maybe we could ask, that should, I don't know if it'd be for this year, but or at a future meeting to have a discussion around that again.
Well, I think that's why they started doing it on YouTube, because that was the better,
Well,
that gave the better picture, gave the better,
it's Zoom that actually does, gives us the better picture and stuff. The problem, we just don't have any of the resources that local cable access TV stations do to mic a building. I mean, we did it in the school committee conference room using that television, but we're not going to use the school committee conference room in May because it can't fit members of the public, members of the committee, the student school committee, myself, Ms. oh my gosh, Karen. I'm getting tired now. So we will have to go to another room, which
Yeah.
has no capability.
Yeah.
but we could do Zoom from another room.
No, I understand that. I'm talking more long-term. We should come up with a better plan technology wise.
Well,
Can we
we should
work
have
on
Scott
either?
in on this
Well,
conversation.
there was a faculty member, if you remember, that filmed a few of these meetings and put them through Burlington, put them up to the Burlington cable before COVID. If you remember that.
That was someone who volunteered to do
Yeah.
that.
That was a faculty member. She filmed, borrowed the equipment, filmed a couple of meetings, and put them up on the Burlington Access. Anyway, that was my idea.
May I suggest that we think about long-term plans later, and for May's meeting, could everybody reach out to Patty and just say, yes or no, I am or am not comfortable attending a meeting in person? I don't want to put anybody on the spot right now who isn't comfortable, but if all 3, 6, 9, 12 of us are comfortable, then it's sort of a moot point. But I don't want to just say, you know, Patty, are you comfortable? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But if everybody could confidentially reach out to Patty, she can then report back to us. I have 3 members that aren't comfortable, so we need, you know, this is what we need to do.
Right. Okay. Sounds
Could
good to me.
could somebody talk to Scott about this to see if any of the technical equipment changed, or if he knows of any new ways of doing it since the last time we did it? It's been a while.
We will certainly, once the committee decides to move forward, we'll certainly decide what we're, what we have for equipment. There's no budget for purchasing equipment, but we'll see what we can do to at least get the committee room going. But, for May, my hope would be that everybody can attend in person, and that the public can attend in person. And because I think frankly, it's unrealistic for the committee to expect that we could turn Shawsheen into a local cable access station in a month so that we can televise committee meetings.
All right.
Would we be able to, Dr. Jackson, would we be able to use COVID funds for this from the state?
I'm thinking I can't. There's COVID funds from the federal government, and is supposed to be used for direct instruction. I'd have to, off the top of my head, my answer is no, but I can look in more detail.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So
We'll plan on
anybody
meeting in person
has
in
an
May.
issue, give me a call or email me. Any other future agenda items?
Madam
I got a
Chairman,
question. I got a question for Mr. Jackson,
Okay.
if I could.
I
Madam Chair.
missed that. Okay.
I had a question for Dr. Jackson, if I could just ask.
Okay, Chad.
Sure.
Okay.
Just because for new members, if possible, to distribute like the bid laws, like what the current bid laws are for the school, for contracts and stuff.
you're talking about Mass General Law, Chapter 30.
You want everybody to get 30G lost?
I don't know. Is there like whatever?
Is that what you're
maybe
talking
not,
about?
maybe not the law, but whatever the policy is or whatever. I don't know if there's a policy or if there's.
So just so everybody knows, we've already had, although through a snafu, my snafu, poor Cheryl was excluded from this group, but we had 3 of the 4 members for what, 3+ hour orientation, 4-hour orientation on last Thursday during April school vacation. So Cheryl, I owe that to you, and Nancy, I owe that to you. So I'll schedule you both together, and we'll do that. And that included a tour of every nook and cranny of, well, actually not every nook and cranny, but most of Shawsheen. It reviewed school committee roles and responsibilities, just like the list of orientation materials. So Cheryl, I'll reach out to you and Nancy and schedule a follow-on for that.
Brad, did you use the outline that you had given Lisa and me? Is that pretty much
Yep,
what?
that's the exact one.
Great, thank you.
So Ms. Musa, as you're going through agenda items, the next meeting, I'd like to request that the committee place the FY20 audit report
Oh.
on the agenda. I've reached out to Budget Subcommittee Chair, Mr. Moffett, and we have tentatively scheduled a Budget Subcommittee meeting at 6:30 prior to the next meeting. And they will meet with the auditor. That's Mr. Fusco, Mr. Moffett, and Ms. Muse are members of the Budget Subcommittee right now. And they'll meet with the auditor and Ms. Hagman and I at 6:30, and then the committee will see the FY20 audit that will be included in the agenda with your permission in the May meeting.
Okay.
I had a
And,
question.
okay, Taryn, go ahead.
Is it realistic for you to send out the descriptions of the various subcommittees? I realize that we haven't had the reorg, but let the new members have a look at what the different.
Well, I can send out what we have now. Yes.
Right. I mean, obviously, if Bob, if the vote goes to Bob, he may choose to add a subcommittee or two. But let's give people, the new people, an idea of what's out there, because I think almost every committee is probably short on people right now, and maybe we can get that underway sooner rather than later.
Okay, I can do that. And Kent, I just wanted to respond again. The 30B laws, I can give you the cheat sheets that I use, but because the actual 30B law is a book, it's pretty extensive. I'm not sure that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, if you just have any, there's like a Cliff Notes version just for whatever the current is, because I'm relatively new to it. It'd be good to read.
Okay.
Maybe not
get
the
them
book,
too.
maybe not the book, but the abbreviated version.
Right, I'll give you
How
my
to bid.
cheat sheets that I use. All right.
How to bid,
Can't wait for the movie to come out.
how to properly bid. How to bid in Massachusetts.
Okay,
Okay.
we do have we have an executive session to discuss pending litigation. So we have to go into executive session. So we do a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion. We move to executive session to discuss pending litigation that would normally not be discussed in open session.
And to come out, and I believe we don't have anything to discuss in open session, do we, Brad, afterwards?
No, there should be no
This
reason for the
is just
committee to
informational.
go back into, there should be no reason for the committee to go back into public session.
Except to adjourn.
All right. Yeah, so we're coming back to adjourn and that's it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, did I get a second on that?
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gillis,
Yes.
Ms. Fusco,
Yes.
Ms. Asbedian,
Yes.
Ms. Bartoloni,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Fiore,
Yes.
and Mr. Moffett.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are in executive session.